What's going on, guys? Back at it again. This is episode dose with yours truly. So I'm just driving right now, driving over to my mom. She's actually on vacation. She's in Ireland. Lucky for her. And so I'm going over to kind of check on her house. I gotta also wash my clothes. My washer just broke, but I kind of just got this little spark of inspiration, and that's kind of how it goes for me. That's what I've been kind of realizing this, like, the last, like 6 months to a year is like I get these random spurts, and especially now that my diet's been really, really clean, it seems to be happening a lot more often, and my mindset tends to be in a much, much better place on a more consistent basis. And that's something I've always struggled with throughout the years, is that I'd be really focused for a while, and then I'd feel really like my brain was really foggy, or like there's something blocking me from thinking clearly. So definitely my cleaning my diet up, doing a lot of fasting has definitely helped me just think more clearly, just be more I'm just so much more, I feel, just sharp. But I saw this quote that says, basically along the lines of, when you learn to conquer your fears, only then will you be limitless, essentially. And so for me, it really just kind of struck me in a way. Like, I just really feel, I have a quote of the day app, and I always keep an eye on it, because they always have really awesome quotes. But like stuff like that keeps me thinking on the right path, keeps me thinking positive, and it's so true. Like, that's something I've been noticing a lot lately, is that when you give something the power of fear, when you give something that power, you're enabling it to have power against you, and you're enabling yourself to just even acknowledge it. Just acknowledging that fear is giving it the upper hand against you, and putting you in a position of of fearing something. And so, like, what is fear? It's at the end of the day, it's just you're scared of something. You're scared of maybe what people might think of you, or maybe you're scared of failing. Maybe you're scared of being actually being successful. A lot of times that's what it is. People are scared to be great. People are scared to be the best that they can be, because they know what it will take in order to get there, right? So this brings me to another point. Why are you doing what you're doing, whether it's good or bad? So, like, if you have a goal, and your goal is to make $100,000 this year, okay, but why are you trying to make $100,000? If you're just trying to make $100,000 just to make $100,000, well, great. Everybody wants to make $100,000 and make $1 million, right? That's not anything special. But if there's a reason, if you have a reason behind that, something something that's a real life reason, or something that maybe is very very close to you. Maybe you want to make $100,000 so that way you can pay your parents back, or maybe you want to make $100,000 so that way you can donate it to a charity for your cousin has cancer, and you want to donate it to his charity, or something like that. Now you have something to work towards, right? And that's the same thing I try to get my clients to understand too, is like, when someone comes in and asks about personal training, and then all they want to know is the pricing, and they're like, oh, what's the pricing? Well, I'm like, well, one, this is not just a product. You're not just buying some secret sauce and saying, hey, here's pay me $400, and then you're gonna be in awesome shape. It don't work that way. Like, the first thing I tell people is, like, look, why are you doing this? And I always get the basic answer. Oh, I want to get in shape, or I want to tone up, or my doctor told me to come in here, which is kind of a valid reason. It is a valid reason, obviously. But What is the deeper reason why you don't that you want to come in and change your life? Or what is the deeper reason why you want to make that $100,000? What is the bigger reason why you want to wake up earlier every day? What is the bigger reason? Because that's what's going to keep you motivated. That's what's going to keep you on track when those days come around, which they do very often. I would say shit every day probably. There's times where I think about, like, why am I doing this? Why, like, think about quitting. I think about, like, maybe I'm not good enough. Those days are when you're going to have to think back to, like, okay, why am I doing this again? I'm doing this for my cousin. I'm doing this for my parents. I'm doing this for myself, because I remember that time when I stepped on the scale and I was, and it had an error reading, or it was at, 200 pounds or 300 pounds plus. What you got to be able to, think back to that and continue having that drive and passion even on the days you don't feel good. Because if you just want to work hard on the days that you feel good, you'll be working hard a couple times a week. And when have you ever heard of anybody successful at anything ever work hard twice a week and been successful? Never. It doesn't happen that way. So figure out your why. And this is something, then it's something that might change. Like for me, it's changed over the years. I've been working out like really, I would say very, like, pretty consistently since my sophomore and junior year in high school, mainly because I had to for football. But I was always really thin, and I know for most people that's like probably pisses you off, because most people have the opposite problem. They're overweight, or they're fat, or they're obese, or whatever the case is, and they can't lose weight. For me, I've always said the opposite. And even though it's like, it may not be like, oh, you're some skinny guy and you're complaining, well, it still is, it still bothered me, it still affects me, and it's still in the same way that it would a fat person. Like, it's still, like, I'm still self-conscious of, like, I still have self-image issues, and stuff I still deal with to this day. But now I'm to the point to where it's like, I don't even care anymore as far as like what people think, because at the end of the day, I'm not doing this for anybody else besides myself. So why am I worried about what other people think about how I look, or what I'm doing in the gym, or what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis? Of course, there's, you don't want to be doing bad things, and you don't want to be, people seeing you, portraying a negative image of yourself. That's not a good thing either. But at the same time, you shouldn't be doing it for someone else. So what it comes back to is just like, know the reason why. I've been doing this very, very strict for 15 years. And when I first started, mainly it was because, I had friends of mine like make fun of me about having a bird chest, and I still don't have a big chest, but that's neither here nor there. But like, that bothered me at the time. And I was a sophomore in high school, and I remember vividly, that day, and I was like, like, I laughed, and it was funny, it was a joke, and I get it. But at the same time, I also remember, like, damn, like, he's kind of right. I do have a bird chest, and like, like, people don't, like, at the time, I was never the sexy kid, or like the good looking kid, like, I've never been that kid. I've never been that person, and I'm okay with that. I'm happy not being that person that's just like, drop dead gorgeous, like perfect jawline and fucking, perfect hairline, perfect nose, perfect ears. I don't care about that no more. I enjoy the fact, it makes me happy knowing that I am imperfect, that I do have flaws, that I do get acne, that I do I have a big nose, or I have big ears, it doesn't bother me at all. Like, it makes me who I am. It gives me character. I relish in that, and I accept it, and I just, I'm just gonna rock it 100. That's just how my dad always taught me to be. Like, if you're gonna do something, do it 100. Don't half-ass anything. If you're gonna have a bucket, and this is something he always, because my dad's really big into cars, and so like, I'm still kind of into cars these days, still to this day, because of that. But he's always taught us, if you have a bucket you better have the cleanest damn bucket on the planet. That shit better be spotless, right? And just take care of what you have. And so be proud of what you have. Be proud of what you have. If you're overweight and you're fat, okay, it's nothing. That doesn't make you a bad person. You know, just because you're not making that $100,000 or $1 million a year, it's okay. It's not. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, knowing that and making the choice to be better the next day and to make steps in the right direction, and acknowledging that you maybe aren't making those steps currently, but you can. That's what's going to help you get to where you want to be. So remembering that why. So yeah, it might start out as like, you know, I'm self-conscious because I'm overweight, or I'm fat, or I'm self-conscious because I'm broke, or whatever, right? But eventually, what happens when you hit that? Does that mean you just stop? No, because usually what happens at that point, it's like you're getting so much into your self-development, and you start realizing how contagious it is to be healthy, and how contagious it is to be positive and have a positive mindset and to be successful, that it just continues. It just is like a nonstop, never ending, you know, just never ending, just constantly trying to better yourself. It's like, okay, I did this, but now let's see if I could do this, you know? Like, okay, I ran a mile. Let's see if I could run 2 miles now. You know, I lost 50 pounds. So let me see if I can lose 100 pounds. You know, like it almost becomes addicting, and it's like a healthy addiction. And so now for me, before it was like a self-conscious thing, it was like a self-image thing. And now for me, it's changed. Then it changed into, when I was about 5, it's crazy how long it's been. When I was 19, I had a work accident with work, and this is not something a lot of people know about. At least not everybody. A lot of my close friends and people that I see on a day-to-day basis, my clients and stuff, they know about this. But if you didn't know, when I was 18, I lost 2 fingers. It was actually an accident that with all 3, these 3 right here. Throw it up, gang gang. But it was a work-related accident. I was working at Home Depot here where I live in Tracy, and basically they didn't train me how to drive the forklift correctly. This is not really neither here nor there, and basically I was driving, I had too much weight, I kind of hit the brakes a little bit, the forklift fell over and crushed my hand, right? Cut off both, basically just mushed all 3 of those fingers. Originally they took the pinky off, we ended up taking off the ring finger. And so, you know, like when that happened, I was 19 years old, and it was literally on my 19th birthday. And so for me, that was very, obviously I think for most people it'd be very tragic. It was probably one of the most tragic things I've been through in my entire life, next to my mom being diagnosed with cancer. But it was really tragic for me. And so, you know, like it really made me look myself in the mirror and say, you know, like, are you going to let this, you know, define you? Are you going to let this, you know, be the end of you? Are you going to let this control your life and control your actions? And, you know, that's the first thing you think of is like, you know, how are people going to look at me? How are people going to treat me when they see I have 2 fingers? And it sounds almost silly when I say it now, but like when that happens, when it first happens, it's like it seems so natural to think that, you know, and it is. But you know, like now obviously to me it's not a big deal. Like it's 2 fingers, I live my life, it doesn't affect me. You know, at the time I was worried about me not being able to play football. I still played football just fine. I could catch the ball fine. I could do pretty much everything a normal person could do. Besides sometimes, you know, like in the gym, like holding the bar will be a little hard, so I have to wear a wrap or something, you know. But you know, it's just a couple fingers at the end of the day. It's just a superficial thing. And actually now it's like more so I kind of enjoy it. It's kind of cool because it's a story. I get to talk about it. You know, people always it freaks people out. Kids get a kick out of it. That's the funniest. The kids trip out. They're like, just like they don't even know what to say. But so yeah, so you know, it started out as a self-conscious thing. My whole why started out as a self-conscious thing back in high school, and then my thing happened with my hand, my work accident, and then it became like, you know, that became my why. It's like, because I don't want to feel self-conscious. I don't want to, you know, like I'm not gonna let this define me. I'm gonna you know, overcome this adversity in my life, and I'm gonna push through, you know, and I'm gonna really see what I'm made of. And then you know. And the other thing is too, sports have always been there for me too. So I know for most people, a lot of people, not everyone plays sports when they're growing up. So growing up playing sports a lot really just gave me that mentality, that go get it mentality, that never quit, you know, push yourself, give it 110%, push through the pain, you know. It's given me that mentality, and luckily I've had parents that have supported that, and I've been in private schooling my entire life that's supported that again, you know, constant reinforcement. But still I still struggle with that stuff. So sports have always kept me, you know, kept me motivated, kept me in shape, you know, whether I liked it or not, I wanted to or not, I had to stay in shape if I wanted to play football or whatever, you know. And so then after that, after my accident, you know, then it just kind of, you know, my life was, you know, kind of steady or whatever. And then me and my ex-girlfriend went through a real tough breakup, right? And so, you know, what's the first thing that someone does when they go through a tough breakup? It's like, I'm gonna start taking care of myself now. Like, I'm gonna look at you. Most times it's like people are like, you know, they're out of shape or whatever. I wasn't necessarily out of shape, but at the same time I was just like, you know, I'm not gonna let this, you know, drag. I'm not gonna, you know, yeah, it's a sad time, or yeah, it's, you know, it's unfortunate that we had to separate and actually get a divorce. But because we were married, we're technically married. We're going through all this bullshit right now. But you know, like, that stuff's tough, you know, and it really affected me. But now it's crazy because, like, that's driven me so much to better myself, because I realized that in my relationship I couldn't take care. How could I care for someone else when I wasn't caring for myself, right? And I just made a post about this actually on Instagram. It's like, how can you pour from a cup that's already empty? You can't. You got to take care of yourself first before you start taking care of other people. So if you're in a relationship and you're unhealthy mentally, physically, and spiritually, how can you care for someone else mentally or physically or spiritually? You can't. It's impossible. You may say you are, or you try, but you don't know how, because you're not even taking care of yourself. You're just being a hypocrite. And so that's, once I started taking care of myself and really dialing in on me and my mental capacity and my thought processes and my daily routine, stuff like that, you know, it just really, you know, it opens yourself beyond what you ever thought. It teaches you that, you know, like, you're not, it teaches you that you come first. That's how it goes. You can't be healthy, you can't help anybody else unless you help yourself first. And so that's why I'm even big on, you know, like, my clients, I don't make my clients do anything that I wouldn't do, because it's like, I don't want to be a hypocrite, you know. So I try to take that into every aspect of my life. So going back to the why, you know, like, your why is going to change over the years, you know, it's not always going to stay the same. So continue refining that, continue constantly thinking about, what is your why are you doing this? Because you're going to have to look back on that a lot. It's not going to just be like, oh, once a week or once a month. No, every day you're going to have struggles, you're going to have adversities, and you're going to have the choice to make, you know, a good decision or a bad decision, a decision that's going to help you get to where you want to be, or a decision that's going to get you away from where you want to be. You know, like, you're either getting better or you're getting worse, but you never stay the same. It's impossible to stay the same. So the decisions you make are either making you better or they're making you worse. So that's how you got to look at it. So that's kind of all I want to talk about today, man, is know your why. Know your why. Once you can dial that in, then it'll make your life, it'll give you something to work towards. You know, like, nothing, if you're not working towards anything, you're not going to have that drive. You're not going to have the passion. You're not going to care about it. That's not going to keep you, you know, it's not going to keep you focused and driven. So figure out what it is that motivates you. Figure out what it is that drives you. Figure out what it is about yourself that you want to make better, that you want to be better. Be better tomorrow. Be better today than you were yesterday, right? Don't think about what's going to happen tomorrow. Don't think about what you did wrong yesterday. Just think about what you can do today to be better than you were yesterday. Okay? That's all you got to do, baby. Stay positive. continue develop yourself. Care for yourself so that way you can care for others. So that's pretty much about it for today. Today's episode of The Daily Dose. Thank you for tapping in. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.